In any post-production process, there are two processes. The first part is figuring out what your story is and telling your story. And then ultimately, the next stage is finishing. So where you take the timeline that you created and you make sure that all the images work well together and look as good as they possibly can.
The way that it works today is that people will edit in Final Cut, people will edit in Media Composer, and at the end of the day, maybe you can finish in your nonlinear editor, and that's just fine. But most of the time nowadays, image quality and performance and design, it's everywhere. If you want to do that with your nonlinear editor, it can get really complicated because you do have to move your images around.
We started with Final Cut early on, and just over time it slowly caught on, and at a certain point Final Cut became the tool of choice for artists, and we built finishing capabilities around that. We have After Effects and Photoshop and Illustrator and all of the basic Adobe package. We have Shake, we have Cinema 4D.
Since we're working on softwares like After Effects and Final Cut, we need to do a lot of transfer the project from different platforms.
Well, the challenge was working with these third-party tools and building workflows around inconveniences. The thing with bringing the Smoke to the Mac is that you can finally do some real high-end finishing. It's all about bringing all of these tools together in one application.
When I first heard Smoke was coming to the Mac, my first impression was excitement. My second was finally.
When I first heard that Smoke was coming out on the Mac, I went, wow, that's the hugest announcement I think I've ever heard from Autodesk.
All of a sudden, you've got access to this tool on the same platform that you're using for doing your Photoshop work, for doing your Final Cut Pro edits, for doing your Avid editing. You're using the same hardware, you're using the same Mac, you're using the same hard drives. Instead of you having to change your workflow to work with the system, we actually change our system to fit in your workflow.
Apple designs good stuff. I mean, just swapping out memory or hard drives in the box. They are very thoughtful about what they do, and that appeals to creatives.
I think most broadcasters are comfortable now with Mac systems. For them to be able to make that leap and be able to enhance their promos, enhance their commercials, they've got the box already. Now they just need Smoke as the software to put on it.
Smoke is made up of lots of different creative tools that allow you to do all kinds of things. And when people get their hands on the application, they invariably turn to certain tools that they find really stand out.
If you want to do tracking, some keying, I mean, no other machine does it better and faster.
The Master Keyer is great. It's quick, it's easy, it's almost like 3 punches and you're done. Good clean keys.
There are other tools that are also very powerful and efficient. The color warper for specifically working on color in a particular aspect of the image, or even the color corrector for actually balancing out the images and adjusting color across an entire timeline.
There are a lot of editing systems that, in order to do something, you have to jump through a lot of hoops. Smoke gives us the ability to have pretty much all the tools that we need all in one box. I've got a timeline, I've got 3D compositing, I've got color correction, I've got titling, I've got text, I've got 3D text, I've got all that stuff. I don't need to go export some video out, go to another piece of software, imports that back in, use something there, export that back out, bring it back into another edit system. It's just, no, that's crazy.
I think editorial finishing describes well what Smoke does, Smoke on Mac does. The money, right now, is not in offline editing because people are editing at their own pace. So if we want to survive and continue to work, I think we need to go most toward the finishing and the online. And if by getting Smoke we can get more of that work done here, I think it's getting us an advantage on the market.
Being able to buy Smoke for a Macintosh and having it at a price that's reasonable for us would be a good idea, because since we have more and more projects coming in, we need to go quicker. It would be a way to be more efficient.
The price makes it more accessible. Having it on Mac just makes it a no-brainer to integrate it into an already Mac world. All of the barriers are just sort of gone.
Smoke doesn't change the way we work, it should just enhance it.
If you want to make your way in the business, what you do needs to look great and to be great.
Your product is everything you have in broadcasting. That's all you have. That's your face. That's what everybody looks at.
Smoke was the missing link to our facility. It's the tool we needed.